Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so incredibly excited you're joining us because today we're talking about the ultimate instruction manual hiding inside almost every single living thing on Earth. Whether you're a teacher sharing this with your classroom right now or a student ready to learn, get ready because we are about to unlock the secret code of life. So let's start with a really big question. What makes you, well, you? What decides the color of your eyes, or how tall you might grow, or even how your hidden organs work day in and day out? It turns out the answer isn't magic. It's actually written in a secret, microscopic language tucked away inside your very own cells. Literally every single part of you is built from this hidden code. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The ultimate instruction manual. 2. Letters, zippers, and ladders. 3. Books, chapters, and punctuation. 4. Reading the DNA manual. And finally 5, when mistakes happen. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the Ultimate Instruction Manual, the library inside your cells.
Now, the secret code we're talking about is, of course, DNA. And yeah, that's an abbreviation for a really big word. Let's actually sound it out together, nice and slow. Deoxyribonucleic acid. It's the master set of instructions that makes you exactly who you are. This nucleic acid usually lives safely inside the quote-unquote brain of your cell, which is a nucleus. But, fun fact, a tiny bit of it also hangs out in the energy factories of your cells, called the mitochondria. Moving right along to Section 2, letters, zippers, and ladders, the structure of DNA.
Okay, imagine we're looking through a super-powered microscope, right? We're zooming way in to look at the actual physical shape of this code. You'll see that DNA is made up of these tiny building blocks called nucleotides, and each one of these blocks has 3 specific parts: a nitrogenous base, a sugar called deoxyribose, and a phosphate group. The sugar and the phosphate, they connect together to form the really strong outer sides of a twisted ladder. If you look at a full strand of DNA, it looks exactly like a microscopic spiral staircase. But the truly magical part is what makes up the steps of that spiral staircase. Those are the nitrogenous bases, and they act just like a 4-letter alphabet. I mean, think about that for a second. The entire instruction manual of you is written using literally just 4 letters: adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine, or as we usually call them, A, C, G, and T. Just like the letters TOP mean something totally different from POT, the exact order of these 4 tiny letters writes the unique story of every single living thing on our planet. And this brilliantly illustrates one of the absolute coolest rules in all of biology. These letters reach across the middle of that spiral staircase to hold hands and form the rungs of the ladder. But, and this is key, they are incredibly picky about who they hold hands with. Adenine, or A, will always pair with thymine, T, and cytosine, C, always pairs with guanine, G. You can kind of think of them as the ultimate best friends of the microscopic world. A and T stick together, and C and G stick together. No exceptions. Because A always goes with T and C always goes with G, the 2 sides of the DNA ladder are a perfect, predictable match. In science, we call this complementarity. Now, the special bonds holding these best friends together in the middle are called hydrogen bonds. And here's a wild detail, they're actually quite weak. But that's completely on purpose. It allows the 2 sides of the DNA to safely pull apart right down the middle, literally just like opening a zipper on your jacket whenever the cell needs to open up and copy those instructions.
Now for Section 3, books, chapters, and punctuation, organizing the genome.
So your body has billions of these little letters. Let's look at how it all stays perfectly organized. Step 1 is your genome. This is all of your DNA together. Think of it as the grand library. Step 2, that massive library is divided into manageable chunks called chromosomes, which act like individual instruction books on the shelves. Inside those books, we have Step 3, your genes. These are specific chapters that give instructions for specific traits, like, whether you have curly or straight hair. And finally, Step 4 is non-coding DNA. This is the space between the genes, acting a bit like punctuation in a sentence to make sure the genes work right and are read at the right time. Oh, and to keep all this incredibly long thread-like DNA from getting tangled up into a massive knot, complex cells wind it tightly around special proteins called histones. They act just like tiny spools of thread. Now, humans and animals have linear DNA, meaning it's organized in straight lines. But simpler organisms, like bacteria and archaea, they do it a bit differently. They organize their essential genes into just a single, twisted, circular chromosome. It's like a closed loop. They also carry around these extra little rings of genetic material called plasmids. Think of plasmids as bonus mini-manuals. They contain useful but non-essential extra instructions that the bacteria can use when they need a special trick to survive. Section 4, Reading the DNA Manual, Turning Code into You. We have our library of books, but how does a cell actually read these tiny letters? Well, think of your cell as an incredible, bustling tiny factory with a precise 3-step process. First step is transcription. A special messenger called RNA comes in, unzips the DNA, copies the specific instructions, and safely carries that copy out of the nucleus. Step 2 is translation. These fascinating decoding machines called ribosomes grab that RNA message, carefully read it, and start linking together raw materials called amino acids to build proteins. Finally, step 3 is modification. The cell folds and transports those brand new proteins so they can go to work, making your organs function, digesting your food, and building all your unique traits. And that brings us to Section 5, when mistakes happen, errors and damage. So the crucial point here is that your DNA is actually very smart. It acts as its own editor, proofreading its sequence when making copies to ensure absolutely no base pairs are mismatched. But sometimes, just like when you're writing a really long essay, a typo happens, and the proofreading fails. When an incorrect letter slips through the cracks, it changes the instructions entirely. In biology, we call this sudden change in the DNA a mutation. Aside from those natural copying errors, our DNA can actually get physically damaged by things we encounter in our everyday environment. Think of this kind of damage like tearing whole pages out of your instruction manual, or, spilling dark ink all over the important words. Things like too much sun exposure without protection, inhaling unhealthy polluted air, smoking, and drinking alcohol. They can all physically break and damage those delicate DNA strands hiding inside your cells. And here's why this matters so much. When the instruction manual is damaged, that cellular factory we talked about earlier, it can't build essential proteins correctly. This is incredibly serious. Damaged DNA can lead to severe health consequences, like cancer, heart and lung disease, premature aging, and congenital conditions. This is exactly why it is so vitally important to make healthy choices, take care of your body, and protect your cells from harmful habits and environments. You really want to keep your library in pristine condition. Wow, we have covered so much amazing ground today, from the twisted spiral staircases of nucleotides to the vast, perfectly organized library of your genome. It all remarkably comes down to just 4 simple letters: A, C, G, and T. If you wrote down every single piece of genetic code about yourself, you'd fill a massive real-world library. And your DNA does exactly that inside every cell, making you entirely one of a kind. So I'll leave you with this final question to think about. How will your unique 4-letter code write your ongoing story? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking brilliant questions and keep exploring the amazing science inside you.